What is good, Foundation Nation, and welcome to episode 2 of the Beginner's Guide to Disc Golf, where we're going to be breaking down the backhand form. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to be using Trevor as kind of an example of when I'm teaching through the form, kind of what to do, how to line your body up and stuff like that. But the first thing I want to talk about is the grip. So if you haven't already watched episode 1, it talks all about disc selection. I'll put a card right up here. Click on that, watch through that first to make sure you have the right discs in your hand, because that's going to make your form, learning how to throw, all of that go a lot smoother if you have nice neutral flying discs or slightly understable discs, which just means when you throw it on right hand backhand, it's going to want to go to the right. If you have the right disc, that's going to make this whole process a little bit easier. So the first thing I want to talk about is grip really quickly. We might do an episode later going a little bit more in depth, but if you're using a putter, one of the more common ways to throw a putter is called a fan grip. Not everyone fan grips their putters. This is all about feel, but I'm going to show you a fan grip and I'm going to show you a power grip with a mid. And those are kind of the two basic backhand grips. You'll use one or the other. There's advantages to each. The fan grip typically allows you to have a little bit more control, a little bit less spin on the disc. They're better for up shots. I use them anytime I throw a putter just because I'm not comfortable power gripping a putter. So fan grip, you want to kind of hook your pointer finger over the rim and then spread these 3 fingers out. Some people tuck their pinky into the rim as well. You want them kind of spread like that though. That'll allow you to have a little bit more touch and a little bit more angle control on the disc. And then your thumb just kind of sits on top wherever you feel comfortable. With a fan grip, it's typically a little bit closer to the rim. Mine's about an inch inside, something like that. With a power grip, you mind if I see that really fast? With a power grip, you tuck all 4 fingertips underneath the rim, and they're kind of staggered like this. The rim fits right into here, and your thumb, pad, and finger come over the top. This gives you a really good grip. Like if Trevor tries to pull that, he's not going to, and that's how hard you should be gripping it when you're throwing. You don't want anything soft where a disc is flopping around. That's going to cause some wobble issues and stuff like that. So if you're struggling with either of those, both of these grips should be tight. If you see any wobble, it's most likely a grip issue. And comment down below if you want us to do a more in-depth video on that. But if you're throwing a putter, try a fan grip, try it out. You can also do power grip with either of these. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is your foot placement. So we're throwing off the tee pad this way. You're going to want your front foot to be perpendicular to your target. And yeah, just kind of like how Trevor has it. Perpendicular to your target, and your back foot is the more important one here. Your back foot you want a little bit staggered. So Trevor will bring it a little wider than shoulder width apart. That's important because it allows you to get that weight transfer. It's really going to get some power onto the disc. And the second thing is you want it staggered. So Trevor's toe kind of goes into this middle part of his front foot. So that allows him to be able to transfer his weight and rotate his hips backward easily. If he had his feet not staggered, straight on, and he went to reach back, it's a lot less natural to rotate your hips, and you're going to be missing some of that rotation, which is going to end up taking power and snap off of your disc, which snap is basically referring to that noise you'll hear pros when it rips off their hand. That is because of the spin that was generated from the feet upwards that allows the disc to rip off and have so much spin that the disc can fly the way it truly is supposed to. That all starts here at your feet. So make sure you have your feet right before you do anything else. Another thing I want to mention while we're talking about footwork is you will not see me teaching an X step in this video. The reasoning behind that is beginners need to learn this part, the standstill of their form, first before you ever even worry about going into an X step. If you can't get your timing and stuff right with a standstill, an X step's just going to further complicate that and make it harder to actually learn good form. So once you get stuff working with the standstill, then you can build in the X step. I might make a separate video on that later, but don't worry about it right now. If you're a beginner, you're watching this to learn how to throw, standstill is the way to go off every tee pad, every upshot, until you get more control. So once you have your feet right, you're going to start off with your elbow pointed towards the basket you're throwing to. So you want it at a 90-degree angle, and then you want to bring it like this right here so that this is pointed and the disc is on that line. And as you reach back, this is one of the more important things. You want to reach back extending straight and look at his weight transfer. So now his weight is all loaded onto this back foot, his heel's off the ground, so he's in an athletic position, ready to explode towards the target. Most people get to this part right. One thing also to note here is as his elbow came through, his shoulder is now in line with the target. So his arm is on this straight line, which allows the disc to be straight back from the target. So if you're wondering how you reach back, you want, as you reach back, just to push the disc straight away and allow your front shoulder to turn your head away. So I'm looking at my target, I have my elbow, as I reach back, it brings my head back just like that. So your head, there's gonna be a split second where you can't see the target, but you wanna keep your head on that right shoulder so that as you come through, you'll be able to find your target again and hit your release point. Beginners either A, you try to keep your eye on the target for too long, which causes your reach back to go too far out, and then you'll have to do what's called rounding, which I'm at this camera throwing this way. Rounding just means that I come off the line, I don't fully pull through. You're losing a lot of power and a lot of accuracy that way. If you want to know if you're rounding, record from behind and see if when you pull through, the disc comes off the line outside. When you reach back, other beginners sometimes will, when they reach back, look away from their target and get their head kind of ahead of the whole game. What this does is when I'm reaching back, if I look back too soon, my reach back could be anywhere and get all off axis. If I keep my eye on the target as I reach back, that helps ensure that this is all going straight, because I can make sure that my shoulder's pointed as I reach back. If I look back too soon, I have no idea what I'm reaching back to, and now I'm pulling through way offline. So let your front shoulder bring your head back. So Trevor, get in that position where you're reaching back. So as his back foot is here, you'll notice his front foot is now pointed away. So that is how to ensure you have no weight on this front foot. It's also going to be crucial for the next step. So since his front foot is like this, that's exactly where you want to be. Your front foot rotates, rotating your hips back, get your heel off the ground, and then the next thing you want to do, to make this part a little bit easier, you want to lead with your hips. Most people are very confused by what that means. Leading with your hips, you want your rotation from your hips to start your pull through. Easiest way to think through this, just in common, what you want to do with your body terms, is you basically, as you're reached back, Trevor wants to take his left hand and reach towards his right pocket to start his throw. So you'll see, like, for instance, Paul, when he runs up, you'll see his hand swing back like this and then immediately tuck into his body. That is essentially what you're doing here. You're obviously not going to reach your right pocket, but what that does is it forces your hips to turn first. So when I'm fully reached back here, the first thing I want to do is punch my left hand down. That'll make my hips turn and my weight transfer to my front foot. And then as I do that, that is when I pull through. So the first thing you want to do is punch your left hand towards your right pocket. That causes the weight transfer and the hips to begin the initiation process, which will start your pull through. Now the pull through is the second part that people really get confused on. So I'm here, I just started this hit. As you start the hit, you'll notice your body kind of turns. What you don't want to do is let that bring the disc offline. So as your body turns, you want your elbow to turn with it. Because if you watch, if I do this in slow motion and I'm throwing directly in line with the camera, what should happen is as I hit, my elbow breaks a little bit, I get into the power pocket, and then my arm turns and I come out. And you'll notice that this disc is on the same line the whole way. That'll allow you to be consistently hitting your lines and getting as much power as possible from the ground up. So as Trevor's reached back, he now pushes his left arm towards his right pocket, his hips turn, he breaks his elbow, and he gets back to where he was. So when we started here and we reached back, that's exactly where you want to get. Best way to think about this is like you're starting a lawnmower or you're elbowing someone. So I'm gonna just picture that Trevor's right here, I'm lined up, I reach back, in my head I want to elbow Trevor. What that allows me to do is I hit with my left hand and then I elbow Trevor and then I just open and throw. So I'm basically thinking that I'm elbowing through Trevor. So, if you don't like Trevor, you don't like his sarcastic remarks about my putting, you can also picture Trevor there at the end of the tee pad and elbow the heck out of him as you pull through. That is basically going to be one of the key things that beginners mess up. Is once you get to this part, I've seen a lot of beginners be here and then they immediately want to throw fast, throw hard. This isn't about fast and hard. This is about slow and smooth. So you reach back, you're going to punch through, and then you're going to smoothly go through. You don't want to be thinking about, all right, now that I'm here, I've got to rip the crap out of this. That'll get all of your timing off. So to make sure your timing's right, you want to start with a putter, and you want to do this slow and smooth. So legitimately, this should be about my speed when I'm first starting, is I'm here, I reach back, I go through. that shot would probably go about 150 to 200 feet just because the timing's right. So I have that snap. Even though I didn't throw it very hard, that is what it looks like. So as you build up speed, it's still gonna be slow and smooth, but your upper body and your lower body, that whip and that snap, get that speed as you kind of progress in your game. The final part to talk about here is the follow through. So for a flat shot, Trevor's gonna be standing straight up and down. He's gonna be reached back, and then he's gonna pull through on a flat plane. So he pulls through and his follow through stays on that plane. So he'd come all the way through his shot on the same plane. That is the basic follow through. So if you're trying to just throw a flat shot, there you go. You start here, you follow through here. All right? And then nothing should happen. Your wrist shouldn't break, you know, nothing like that. You just start, like I just said, you reach back, you turn your body away, your hips are away, punch through, elbow, and then follow through on a flat line. If you're trying to throw a hyzer, which is the disc coming out on this angle here, all you want to do to change that is change from your hips up. So nothing about your form changes, nothing like that. It's just your angle. So if I'm throwing a hyzer this way, again, I'm lined up like this, I reach back. As I'm lined up and reaching back, I lean forward. So now I reach back, I pull through, my disc is gonna be on hyzer. And hyzer is the exact opposite. I lean back, so as I reach back, I'm leaned a little bit back, pull through, and hyzer. That is how you hit all three different angles. So that should cover the basic gist of it. If you have any questions when you're doing this, please comment them down below. Some of the key points that people seem to forget as they go through is keeping their weight over their toes and staying in an athletic position. So you don't want to be straight up like this. That's not going to cause any power. The weight on your toes, athletic position, and then as you reach back and punch through, elbow someone, pull through, release flat. And yeah, so that should be how you kind of start. Start with putters and mids, slower speed, that are flippier or more neutral flight. Again, if you haven't watched the disc selection video and you're about to go practice your form, watch that to make sure you're using the correct discs, because if you use a disc that's gonna finish too hard, it doesn't matter how you're throwing it right now, it's going to go left, and for you to correct that, it's gonna cause some mistakes in your form. So you wanna make sure you're using the right tools so that you can learn the form the correct way and become as good of a player as you possibly can be. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check the links in the description below to our Discord, Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff, website. And other than that, we'll see you in the next one.